Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody's doing well. Sorry I was running late. I apologize. I was sitting right here, but looked at the time and realized I was late. Just waiting for Sarah. I hope she's not having any issues. So, Sarah, if you're having any issues, let me know. Hey, Fairy Dragon. Thanks for listening in. Hey, Sheila Wixon. Welcome in. Hey, Mayfield Ranch. Welcome in. Hey, Mark at Little Ridge Farm and Leanne at Mennonite Farmhouse. Welcome in, you guys. Hey, JP Rock 73, Lisa Calovi. Hello. Let's see. Hey, Green Granny 2, Denise Pacell. Hope you're doing well. Tomet on the Plant is here. Holman's Homestead is here. Hello, hello. Yep, it's Friday night. It's time to party. That's right. Party and hang out with Lisa and Sarah. Mark's like, party, party, party. Let's see here. Thank you, Lisa Calovi. Thank you, Leanne. Let's get the party started by watching the full ads. This helps Norm get fed. Yeah. Norman went to town today. He wasn't as enthusiastic about it. Oh, thanks, Mayfield Ranch. I appreciate it. Right back at you. Hey there, Jeannie Lipsky. No worries. Thanks for jumping in and enjoy your dinner. Hey, Crubby the Beagle. Welcome in. Hello. Just want to get to the bottom, make sure I got everybody. You love the Norman shorts. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. They're fun. They're super fun. I did make a sticker in the store for Norman because I was working on a special gift for somebody that I had promised. So I did make some sweatshirts. Sweatshirt. I'm not as crazy about it. So the sticker I like, but the sweatshirt I'm not as crazy about. But I did the best I could with my ability. So bear with me. I'm working on getting some better stuff. Oh, good, Jeannie. I'm glad. I'm glad you guys are enjoying Norman. He's a sweetheart. He's a sweetheart. Hey, Rebecca, Touched by Yarn. Hey, Glenda Grayson Fire. Hope you guys are doing well. He's a sweetheart. He really, really is. He has just such a great personality, and he's manipulative. He's in the pen that faces the front of our house, and it's really funny because he'll hear me and he's ready to go. So it's really funny. But we took him downtown today. He wasn't as thrilled about it. He walked back and forth on one block. That was all he wanted to do, which was fine because there's a lot of rock salt. So I can't have him eating the rock salt. I have to be very careful. So but he did really good. And then we put him in the truck, and while we were in town, we ran a couple errands, and he was on the floor of the truck. So he did really, really well. We just had to, wait for him to when he gets bigger, it's going to be a big issue. The crazy twos are a pain. So this is what I was doing when I was sitting here, is I'm trying to clean up my mess. I've got all my mail call stuff, and it's just been sitting here. And I need to put it away. I've got Christmas cards and all this stuff. Usually when we do the podcast, that's when I clean up my desk, and never got to it. I can't even find my desk as it is here. So I'm dropping things. But anywho, how is everybody doing? Hey, Mad Acre Farms. How's everybody doing? Hey, Farm Fresh, Strange Reality. I know who you are. Thank you, though. I appreciate it. Hope you guys are doing well. We're just waiting for Sarah to come in. I hope she's not having any trouble. I'm just going to check my phone to see if she's having any issues. Okay, so let me just tell her. So she's working through everything. So she just came back on the back. So yeah, so it was pretty cool. And I will pull her up in just a minute. Let's see here. Still renovating the bathroom a week later. Hopefully it'll be done tomorrow. I hope so, Glenda. I totally get that. We are still working on our bathroom, but we got our final cost. It was $2,500 to do the whole bathroom. The most expensive cost was the closet door because we had to order it. It actually cost more than the main door. It's so ridiculous. So hopefully we'll get that done this weekend. And let me just go through the chat right now. Do I have to watch his hooves with the salt? I don't know 100%, Sheila. I'm going to be honest. I'm not as worried about his hooves because I can wipe them off. And when he gets on the dirt, they get wiped off. And he doesn't sit there and lick his hooves like a dog would lick their paws. So I'm not as worried about that. But I am worried about him trying to eat it because the salt doesn't always dissolve and I don't want him eating it. And I know it's not good for dogs or pets. So I try to be really careful. So, hey, Snow Gardener 307. Sarah's busy eating all the green M&Ms because the doctor said to eat more greens. I've heard other things about green M&Ms. Yep, Glenda, we left the shower too. In fact, our shower was in better shape than anything that was out there. And we were like, that's ridiculous because we've already done the plumbing to it because we changed the fixtures. So that's really good. That's really good. All right. Well, guys, Sarah is backstage. Sarah, you want to give me a thumbs up if you're ready? She's ready. So we're going to bring her up, everybody. And I saw somebody said that Sarah was, I want to read this before I bring her back up. Sarah is one of my, oh, hang on a minute. It was JP Rock 73 said, Sarah is one of my favorite people on planet Earth. I hope she comes on. Well, she's coming on now.
Oh,
hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Awesome. I'm well. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem at all. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So it was incompatible with your phone?
Yeah, so I ended up, I am using my phone, but I had to actually like pull the link into Chrome, and I am so not technical savvy. So when it said not compatible, I was like, wait, I don't have anything else to put it on. I had to like come up with something real quick, but I ended up being able to finagle it. So we got it.
Yeah, it is. It's weird on the phone. And for me, it's weird because it detects that I'm logged in.
Right.
So it brings me automatically to an open studio, but not the one I've scheduled. So it's like,
interesting.
And I can't access the scheduled one.
Yeah, that's so bizarre.
Yeah. Well, when my subscription ends, I'll be done with Melon.
Yeah. That's awesome. I haven't used any of them yet, so.
Yeah, StreamYard did really well. I think the biggest disappointment I had with Melon was they had a really good deal on it, and I took advantage of it because I thought, well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because then you don't have to worry about hours. And then the problem became, I thought that I would get 10 people up.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can't.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah. How many, like, if you were to put a bunch of people on a screen, how many does it fit?
Oh, gosh. It's been so long, I can't remember.
Okay.
I want to say 6 total.
Okay.
But it was really, when you don't have the paid version, I think you can only have one other.
Okay. That makes sense. Gotcha.
But I think I'm beyond paying for it because I just don't, I just don't feel like I'm getting what I need. But I'll probably eat my words because the Homesteading Academy, we record on Melon.
Yeah.
And so I would have to figure out something different.
Okay.
So StreamYard will be a lot. I don't know. I'm probably going to have to eat my words. I'll be honest. Because now that I'm thinking about it, is the Homesteading Academy, I record on it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Dang it.
I know a lot of people use the StreamYard. The one, the live that Katie did, like, was it a week ago or a week and a half ago? She used StreamYard. And she's in the chat. I see her. Hi, Katie. Maybe she can give some insight on if she found it easy to use for at least the first time too.
Yeah, I like StreamYard. It's easy to use. It's expensive.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have used the free version, but you can't record, to my knowledge, if you're doing the free version.
Oh, okay.
So the way that I do it is like we go live and it's unlisted.
Mm-hmm.
And then I say the episode comes to my computer, and then I download it, and then I have it like a big video that I re-upload to YouTube, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yep.
So
Gotcha.
let me go to the chat real
Okay.
quick because a bunch of people came in.
Yeah.
Hey, Andel, Homestead, Nancy, our treasured home, Rich at the Old Swedes, Rich and
Hi,
Holly, I
guys.
should say. Hey, Annette at Annie's Kitchen, Marlene, Snow Gardener 307. She is excited to meet you. She went over and friended you.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Down Home, welcome in. Hey, Ariella, Viking Venture and Victuals. Yeah, StreamYard is really easy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like how I can actually see the chat on here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Ariella, then I'm going to reach out to you and ask you about StreamYard. She said StreamYard does allow you to record on it. I thought it was only on the paid version, not the free, but I will have to talk to you. Leanne answered, there's a limit on what you can record in the free version. Gotcha. Thanks, Ariella. So real quick, I think it was last week or the week before, and I'm going to admit that I lost my notes. So I'm asking you, Sarah, because I think you were there, and I'm asking the folks in the chat. I had talked about doing growing food lives, and if I remember correctly, Rich at Old Swedes was interested. And then I thought Barb's Country Home and the Cow Emporium. Did I miss anybody? Do you remember?
I don't remember. So usually on Friday nights when I can join into the live, I'm in the process of like cooking and stuff. So it's possible I set my earphone down during that part. So yeah. I'm not sure if I heard that piece.
Yeah, because I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was 4 or 5 people, but Rich, you were one of them, right? Because I'm going to send out an email to the ones that I think it is and see. Oh, that was it. Glenda. That's it. See, this is what happens when I clean my desk up.
That's right. You just got to leave it messy. Then you know where everything is.
Exactly. Let me just write that down. Grayson. I knew it was somebody different. And what I mean by that, Glenda, is I remember you saying, like, I've been gardening and doing all this stuff for years. And I'm like, yeah, you're perfect. I was talking about doing just like a panel of grow your own food lives. And
that's fun.
Yeah, just like, so, we do our Friday night lives, and people really liked when people come up and we talk about it. Yeah. People seem to like when I've brought other farmers up and stuff that when we've talked about growing your own food and everything. Yeah. So I just thought that would be cool.
That would be super fun. I think it's such a great opportunity for a bunch of different people to share information in one spot.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think because that's what I want the lives to be. I want them to be related to what we do and all that stuff. Yeah. And we can still have fun. I mean, we always have fun, but yeah. Yeah. So if anyone is interested in that, you can either email me or reach out to me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram. You can message me. But I'm going to try and get a bunch of people together and send emails out. So I've got Glenda and I've got the Old Swedes, and I'm going to leave the Cow Emporium and Barb's. Does anybody here want to be included on that email?
I'll totally be in it.
You want to be in it too?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And Mayfield Ranch is interested. And you guys all have your emails on your about pages? I know how to get you, Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting too, because everybody's in different grow zones. Well, a lot of people are different grow zones. Like Rich and I are in the similar grow zone. I'm like 1 or 2 above him. or colder than him, I should say, in Minnesota. Right. But like Katie's out in California. So, and obviously you being in South Dakota, like we're all going to be, you know, slightly different as grow zones too, when it comes to talking about gardening.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, gardening, you know, it could be anything. It could be anything. Yeah. It could be, you know, laying chickens. It could be anything like that. Hey, Barb's Country Home.
Awesome.
Barb, if I remember correctly, were you one of the people? Oh, Grace and Fire. I think I have your email, or I know how to reach out to you, so don't you worry. But Barb's Country Home, if I remember correctly, and maybe I'm wrong, you said you wanted to be on the Homegrown Food Lives. If I'm wrong, just tell me. But if you're interested, let me know, because I want to make sure I send out the email. I threw out my note. And Alicia at Farm Fresh may be interested. Okay, cool. I just wanted to take care of that so I didn't forget.
Yeah. Smart.
So why don't you? She said, nope, I'd love to be in your sourdough collab. Deal, Barb, deal.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Deal. You got it.
I like that one too.
Yeah, well, Mountain Grandma has been on my case about doing one.
Yes.
So we'll be doing one in the next month or so. We'll get one together.
Yeah. I saw your gorgeous sour that you made. Was that today or yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yum.
Yeah, I was pretty excited. The girl who taught me was Chelsea at Happy Home.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because she had offered to mentor me through Instagram. Yeah. And the funniest thing was last night she saw the picture that I posted on Instagram and she says, "That's a beautiful ear." And I said, "What's an ear?" And she's like, "That means your bread is so beautiful."
Yeah, that's funny. Did she explain it in detail, like what the ear is?
From my knowledge, from my recollection, it rose up because it's a good loaf of bread, essentially.
Yeah. So where you have your expansion score on the loaf, where it expands the most, it can create like a little bit of a lip. And when you cut your bread in half, you actually should be able to look at it and you can see like the outline of what looks like a bunny. And it's the bunny ear that causes that little like curve. and it means that you had a great rise on your bread, a great rise and expansion in your bread.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
The rise and expansion. She didn't say the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was like, "What a beautiful ear." And I was like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Little bunny foo-foo.
Yeah. It's really interesting though. If you cut your bread directly in half and like somebody's like you notice the ear on it, it really does look like a little bunny.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
And yes, folks in the chat, yes, that's the whole point of it is newbies, old timers like Sarah who've been doing it for a while. It's for everybody. Thank you, Barb.
Oh
yeah, it's just for everybody because I know for me, I thought it was really hard to do because people all say that.
Right.
And I just really wasn't. I'll be honest, I had a no-knead bread recipe that was really good, but then Chelsea reached out and I was like, it'd be a good thing to learn if I don't have yeast and all that stuff. And
definitely a good skill to have.
Right. So I said, let me learn it. And, you know, I talked about, and that's why I posted that short last night. Cause it you know, I think it took me 3 weeks to get it to double because my house is not warm.
Right.
So it's taking longer and I just kept at it and, you know, that's and then, awesome. And now the starter it like doubles in an hour if I put something in it.
Yeah. And once you have it established like that, I mean, you can leave like the tiniest little bit in your container and feed that and you have an awesome starter again. So there's plenty of times. Yeah. I basically scrape the container down to nothing and then refeed it. And it's totally good for the next time I want to bake.
Exactly. And I agree, Leanne, sourdough is easier than sandwich bread. I agree. Hey, Jerry, Carpenter Self-Reliance, welcome in. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about your channel, and thanks for being patient while we took care of the housekeeping stuff.
Oh yeah, and thanks for being patient for me even like hopping on here with my technical difficulties. So
No problem at all.
yeah, so obviously my name's Sarah. My husband and I, so my husband's name is Cade. We have 3 children, span from our youngest is 1.5, and then we have a 9 and an 11-year-old. We live on 10 acres in northern Minnesota. We started our homestead at a different property with just chickens. And obviously they say chickens are kind of the gateway into the homesteading lifestyle. And so we started there with some chickens and some gardening. And then when we bought this property, we just kind of expanded. So now we have over 60 chickens, egg-laying hens. We have 5 sheep. We do wool sheep right now, and I have not used the wool yet, so don't ask me questions on that. We have a couple cats, a couple dogs. We do meat birds in the summertime. Being in Minnesota, we don't really have a great setup to do meat birds all winter right now. So we keep that to the summertime. We do have a very large garden, so we really enjoy gardening and trying to be as self-efficient and sufficient as possible, trying to learn all the different skills of homesteading and just sharing that. I wouldn't consider either of us a teacher by any means, but more a sharer of what we are doing, what we are learning. And just kind of showing the ins and outs of what we got going on here. So.
And you got a lot going on with your family, let alone everything else that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got definitely a busy family, and our kids are in, they're in some sports, and my husband and I enjoy going to the gym, so that, and I run a small business. So on top of the homesteading stuff, we have this other stuff piling up too. So.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And you have sheep that are coming due, aren't they?
Well, you'd think so. So we have one ewe, and she had been exposed to our ram all summer. Now the breed that we have, they're Finn and Gotland cross, and they typically can breed out of season. And so honestly, I should have done my research on their whole fertility process and how that all works before putting them together, but we didn't. And so we're in this position of not fully knowing if our sheep is pregnant. We've had our friend come over and do some ultrasounding on her, and we just don't have any definitive answers. We are narrowing down in that window in which she could be pregnant from when the last she was exposed to our ram. And so I guess we'll just kind of wait and see. She looks huge right now, but she's just a beefy gal, so who knows?
And what's the gestation period on them?
So it ranges depending on the breed. It's between like 145 days and like 155 days. There's like a good 2-week span, just like humans. So there's
a
flexibility there, but it's about 4.5 to 5 months for most sheep to the gestation there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Arc Wildman. Hey, Chuck. Life with Linda and Chuck. Linda's doing well. The reason why I ask is I have a friend on Instagram that I know from here. She and I were co-hosts of the May Homestead Challenge on Instagram, and it's Jesse over at Rustic Sourdough.
Okay.
And they're about 90 minutes north of us. And they have sheep, and I don't remember the breed. But they get ready for a very large lambing season. I don't know. We're considering getting a lamb, but it would be for meat. It wouldn't be to. Yeah. We can't take on another animal right now to overwinter. Yeah. That's the way I look at it, is overwintering. And of course, things have changed with Norman. So
yeah, he takes up a lot of time in training.
Yeah. So, and he takes up a building right now because this weekend we're going to try bringing him in and see if Diesel and he can get along, because Norman needs a bath bad.
Oh.
Because we take him out walking and we put him in the truck and we're like.
He is a farm animal, Lisa.
I know. But then he gets gas and it gets really bad.
Yeah. I can imagine.
So, but he needs a bath. And I think that's some of the confusion on Diesel's part.
He's like, wait, this isn't a dog.
He's like, what is that stench? Hey,
Yeah.
Hendrickson, welcome in. So somebody asked, what is your plan for your wool?
My initial plan on even getting the reason for getting this breed of sheep is they're highly like sought after for this type for their wool because it is very like soft. And so, but I didn't really do a lot of research on the market, like how hard is it to actually find the right buyers. So I just kind of want to try to use it. So honestly, we have bags of it sitting in our garage. I've only washed one set of it. It's ready to be carded, so ready to be like separated into fibers. And so I do want to learn how to do the carding and the spinning. And I taught myself how to crochet last year. And so I kind of just want to like do the whole process and maybe, who knows, maybe like crochet things and sell them. I don't know. And just do something on the side. But you know, when you raise the animal and you have the wool, and there's just so much, I don't know, there's so much value in that, in being able to see where that product comes from. And it's a skill that I would like to learn, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, the other thing too is I don't know if you have local, I know we're all in small towns and stuff, but sometimes they do have these things because I know there's one about a half an hour away from me. It's an artisan guild.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Basically what it is it's like one store in a town where they happen to sell yarn.
Okay.
But they also have different artist products for sale.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it sounds like this fancy thing, but it's really not. It's just that it's an artist's space where you can walk in and buy things.
Yeah.
And so I know that they have a lot of get-togethers. And I know that people in the past in other states, when I've lived in North Carolina, what they did was they would walk in there and say, hey, could you make my wool into this and show me how to do it? But you ended up paying them, but then you would then get the yarn back, if that makes sense.
Interesting. I don't know anything about this. I might have to look into this. I wonder if there's something like that in our town. We do have a lot of like really crafty people. I see a lot of like craft show signs and stuff like that. I wonder if somebody there could just direct me to something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's always good to, because the reason why I know about it is when I moved to South Dakota, I wanted to find like a knitting circle to join. And of course, then we all know everything happened and nothing was going on. But I do know that they do have one on Friday nights. Well, of course, Friday nights I'm here, so I wouldn't make it. But they do them on Friday nights where it's like open, for lack of a better term, open craft.
Yeah.
So you crochet, you knit, you do this, and everybody just sits there and hangs out and learns and talks. So, hey, Grape Jams.
Fun.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Leanne said we have a spin club in my area. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm just going to go to the chat real quick.
Yep.
I don't miss the NC weather. I was in Western North Carolina. We were in a town that was in a Tennessee border county, and that was a lot colder. But then when we were outside of Asheville, so we were in the mountains, so we had all different kinds of weather. Hey, Bunky's Garden. Hendrickson, Sarah is in Minnesota. And somebody will put that link down there for you. I just want to go back through because I feel like I missed somebody. I know Mayfield Ranch said they tried to transition the potbelly in the house, but he didn't prefer it. And if he doesn't prefer it, or if it doesn't happen with Diesel, Diesel was here first. So that'll just be the way it goes. I just want to double check I didn't miss anybody. If anybody knows of a bread recipe for Ariella to put in her bread machine versus having to buy kits, if somebody could just let her know, she was asking earlier.
I don't have a bread machine, but I do. There is that channel and another YouTube friend that I have, and she does use a bread machine a lot, and she might have a really good recipe. She has a channel. It's called Rouse Rising. Her name's Katie. She might have a good recipe if nobody in the chat has something.
How do you spell that?
It's ROWES Rising, RISING.
Okay, I just put Old Swedes wants to know if you don't mind him asking, or region if you prefer. And of course, you don't have to answer either one, but what town are you near or what region? You said northern Minnesota, correct?
Yeah, it's like mid-northern. We're in Hinckley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ariella said, thank you. Nice. We'll check her out.
Yeah, she's got a lot of recipes on everything, but bread in particular. And you message her, she's very responsive. So
cool, cool. And Nancy, is yours for a bread machine? Because that's what Ariella is looking for, a bread machine one. Because I guess she's buying kits or something that's together, and it's a lot more expensive than buying the ingredients, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I've never used a bread machine.
Me neither. Me neither. Not too far, Rich said. Thank you, Nancy. And Leanne said she was in August Jamboree with Rouse Rising.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So you still have your ducks?
We do. Yeah, we do still have our 2 ducks. They're just little tanks too. They just bully the chickens around and eat like champs, and they just hang out. They actually have been cooping up, which is nice though, because they weren't cooping up for the longest time. And we'd come out and they'd just be sitting outside, and it's like, aren't you cold? But they finally started cooping up. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Ducks are weird.
They are. That they are. Hey, Annette at the Cow Emporium. She said, hey, Lisa and Sarah.
Yeah, hi.
So what other things you like to do? A lot of cooking?
I love to be in the kitchen. Yes, I love to cook and bake. Yeah, that's totally my jam. If I could just like do one thing all day, I'd be hanging out in the kitchen.
Good for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Good for you. How long have you been doing sourdough?
That's fairly new. I mean, let's see. 2020, I got my first starter and I totally killed it. He's excited back there. So I started in 2020 experimenting, and once my small business was shut down for a little bit, so once I got to go back, I didn't keep up with it. And so that fall, I had another friend give me a starter, and so since that fall, I've been pretty consistent. So we're coming up. I've just over 2 years, 2.5 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And our treasured home, take a look. I'm sorry, not our treasured home. Ariella, take a look on the screen at our treasured home's comment. She's got titles for her videos on her channel. So that's really cool. You've been doing it for a little bit then.
Yeah, a little bit. And, for the last year, I've been really consistent. Before that, it was maybe a little more sporadic. And I've definitely gotten way better at it and more consistent, and figured out, what works and what doesn't. I'm a very nonchalant when it comes to measuring anything. I'm a free feeder, meaning I don't measure my feedings. And when it comes to the sourdough itself, I loosely measure it and then based on feel. And so, yeah, that's how it has to be for me. I can't be super precise or I won't keep up with it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Hey, Bunky's Garden, welcome in. Yeah, it's funny because when I first started, I was measuring to a T, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to the ear thing that I had no idea.
Yeah,
I guess there's a hydration thing too, right?
Yeah, there is a hydration thing.
I had no idea that what I was doing was 100% hydration, right?
Yeah.
So, but the one thing I did notice is that if I did 100% hydration, and for those of you who aren't familiar, that's doing equal parts flour to equal parts water.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do a cup of water, a cup of flour, 10 grams, 10 grams, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because on my own, I figured out that if I put less water, I got a better rise.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And that makes sense now that I kind of understand it. I am so far from being knowing a lot about it. I mean, like you said, the ear thing came up and I was like, what is an ear? But
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just the bread is so good.
it is so good. And there's really so many different ways to do it. And there's always somebody who's going to tweak it a little bit differently, and that may or may not work for you, but it works for them. So you got to just find out your style, your groove, what works in your home too. Like you said, you keep your home pretty chill. Ours isn't super warm by any means, and so there's definitely periods of time where I get a better rise than others or a faster rise than others, and so it's not one method works for everybody. You really just got to figure out what works best for your home and your style of cooking.
Absolutely. It makes so much sense. And
Yeah.
I think part of it was we had that really cold weather had come through when I had started it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that the pellet stove is not keeping up. So I'll be interested to see what happens in the summertime.
Yes.
Because I think that'll be cool. Thanks, Annette.
Yeah, the summertime, I find it's hard to keep your starter very happy because it constantly wants to be fed because your rise happens so fast. So as soon as the dome falls on your starter when it's rising, now it's going to go into hunger mode. And that happens much faster when the temperatures are hot in the summer.
Huh.
So it's like you're constantly feeding it or constantly baking, or you're shoving it in the fridge.
Okay. Yeah, I finally shoved mine in the fridge for the first time yesterday. Because what I had done was I kept feeding. I was advised to keep feeding it for at least a month before I put it in the fridge because it took so long to rise. So she said, just keep feeding it. And her trick was use a little rye flour.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'll ferment faster.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was just using regular flour and it was rising. So I was pretty thrilled.
Awesome.
But now, like I said, it rises so quickly because it's really strong.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty impressed with it.
Yeah.
So now that it's in the fridge, what do I only have to feed it once a week?
I guess it kind of, again, it depends on how often are you going to actually bake with it. So if I work, so I will often feed my starter and put it directly in the fridge after I feed it. And then when I take it, so I do that on usually Wednesday mornings because I can't tend to my starter again until Friday. And so I'll feed it Wednesday and I literally put it right in the fridge. I don't let it rise or anything. And then as soon as I get up on Friday morning, I take it out. It's already been fed and it's ready to rise. And it works great. I don't know. That's just what I do. So that's kind of what I like to do because it keeps me on top of the feedings. Yeah. If I forget about it on the counter and I let it get real hungry, then it takes a few feedings for me to catch back up with it. But once, like they said, once you have an established starter, I mean, you can put it in the fridge in any stage, and you'll be able to wake it back up. It's just a matter of how many times you want to feed it before you want to use it and to get a really great rise. I use discard all the time for bread. Like I don't even feed it, and you put it in bread, and it works just fine.
I've noticed that too.
Yeah. So
I've noticed that too because they talk about all these different things, and I'm like, I don't know, my loaf of bread was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
I sent Leanne a picture, and I was like, "Is this close enough to double?"
Yeah.
And it came out pretty good, so that was good. Oh, that's good to know. That's a good. I like that pattern that you talked about.
Yeah,
I'll probably make it like twice a week.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome.
It freezes pretty good too.
I haven't really frozen a lot of the bread. I actually do have some that's frozen that was like almost stale, but I just tossed it in the freezer and I actually haven't pulled it out yet. But I thought about just pulling it out and turning it into like a French toast bake or something.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, you could turn it into all kinds of different things. Toast.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what I did was if I bake 2 loaves at a time, which is what I do, and then what I do is when it completely cools off, I wrap it in freezer paper.
Okay.
And then put it in like a Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
And then awesome. I put it in the freezer and I've taken it out and it's really good when it comes out. Of course, it's not in there forever.
Right.
It's maybe in there a week. So
yeah.
So that works out pretty well. So I think that's pretty cool. And I bought one of those bamboo slicers.
Oh, I don't know what this is. A bamboo slicer?
Yeah. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, I don't know what this is.
Okay, entertain people. Hold on.
Entertain people. Okay, well, I don't really have anything to entertain, but I haven't been able to actually like look at the chat. So now I'm kind of curious to kind of scroll up and look at the chat here. Hi, everybody. So who in the chat here bakes bread? I'm actually curious. I know Leanne was in here. I know she bakes bread.
Yep. So it comes flat.
Yeah.
And then you
So what?
Diesel quiet. So it's got like a cutting board in there.
So you put the bread in there.
So I make my loaves so they can fit in here. I bought this one because it was pretty wide.
Okay.
So the way you slice it is if you want a thinner slice, you slice here.
Mm-hmm.
If you want your slices this thick, you slice here. Because here's my issue.
Mm-hmm.
We're big people here. We like to eat. No, I'm not being negative. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
We like to eat.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting here eating way too much bread.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good though.
So I just want to, it is so good. But
yeah.
So anyway.
Okay, so so when you slice, okay, you just put your normal knife through. There's not like a little slicer on that.
No, you just you have to have a knife that's long enough to go through there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Huh. That's an interesting gadget.
And I was like, you know what? If I'm buying, well, I put something on Instagram and people suggested it. Hey, little Frenchie. Hey, Don Ray. So I was like, I want to be able to get, to just be able to slice it a little better.
Yeah.
So it seems to work really well.
That's really cool. That's a good idea. Yeah. Huh. I learned something today. I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. And there's all different kinds of models. There's like plastic ones and all that stuff. So far, I really like it, but I like that it's wide enough and I like that it folds up flat.
Yeah, that's nice because you got to be able, if you have gadgets like that in the kitchen, you got to be able to store them away without them taking up too much space too.
Yeah, because then what I do is I just lay this on my bowls in the cabinet. That's how easy it is.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
I just lay that on my, what do you call those bowls that you get for your sourdough?
Banneton?
That's it. I'm such a pro.
Hey, I didn't have a Banneton for a long time. I didn't use a Banneton right away. So
hey Scott, SD Mountain Man, welcome in. I can try, Alicia at Farm Fresh. I can definitely try that. The first day when you go to slice it, they're so crunchy, it's like oof.
Yeah, it can be really difficult. For my family, I typically will make it a little on the lighter side because it's easier to slice, and then all my kids will eat it. Rather than if it's a little crunchy, sometimes they'll just eat the center. So I do kind of like keep it on the lighter side, which makes it easier to slice for them. But
so does that mean you bake it less?
Yeah, I just don't brown it as much. Okay. So oftentimes, like if I'm like selling it, I do sell it sometimes at my small business, but I will like take the lid off and brown the top. But if I'm just giving it to my family, sometimes I'll just make sure it stays lighter and not brown it as much.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, I had posted on Instagram for people. I was like, well, how do you cut your sourdough? Because, the first day you have it, if it's browned,
yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get through, but then the next day it's easier. I've noticed.
It gets easier the longer it sits. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because somebody was like, a sharp knife. And
no
kidding.
You don't say.
Really? So what plans do you have for your homestead this year that you feel comfortable talking about?
This year, well, I think each year so far we've kind of expanded with something. And I think this is probably a year of just getting better at what we have. I don't think right now we plan to add any additional animals that I know of. We'll probably just, like I said, probably make sure I actually use the wool this year. That's a big goal of mine, is to actually do something with this wool. And then, just when it comes to like our garden, there's some boxes and some stuff that were unfilled last season. And so I think we'll just make sure that we really kind of utilize the space that we've already provided and just really fill things out, and just learn more about our sheep, get better at our meat birds. And we probably will do more meat birds this year. But it's not really like expanding too much. It's just kind of elaborate on what we already are doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of, we don't really have any major big changes for the year that I know of. I know my husband has some building plans that he has that he's going to do, as far as just like maybe starting a greenhouse, building an outdoor kennel, just some things like that. Maybe making an addition onto our one of our chicken coops, so that they have a larger place, so that we can have more egg-laying hens.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of the current agenda.
That's awesome. Ryan keeps telling me, he's like, this year we're not building anything.
Yeah. Sometimes it's nice to just not have to like have those big plans and big goals, and it's just like, let's just focus on what we have going on and get really good at what's already here.
Right. And I think that's where he's at, and me, I'm like, I want a barn.
Yeah.
After we had that really Arctic Siberian cold come through.
Yeah, I saw your video on that too, and I saw that your pig with the water, and he cut his little nose on the water on the ice. When it was really cold like that. Yeah. Oh.
We're not sure. We're not sure if it was a case of wet nose on the fence or the feeder or whatever. But I do suspect that he may have cut it on the ice, because I was breaking ice constantly, even with heaters in there.
Right.
And that's the other thing. So either he did that, or he cut it on the plastic feeder, because, I mean, when your hands are cold, and then if they're wet, they stick to things. Right. So, he definitely, but yeah, he's all fine and good and everything like that.
Good.
When you only have blue coat to put on a wound, and it's not made for facial wounds.
Right.
We're sitting there like this, holding a pig, covering eyes, covering nose holes.
Yeah.
And we look like lunatics. And then we're like, okay, now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But he healed up beautifully.
Good.
So that was good.
That Arctic, I mean, that cold weather can really take a toll on the animals. And like you were saying, like he could have cut it on that plastic. It gets brittle and sharp. Yeah. So it's very possible. Yeah, we had one of our chicken feeders just randomly like broke into like a bunch of pieces, and it looked like a weapon out there. And there was some random like blood spatter on it, and we never found what chicken probably got into it.
Wow.
Yeah, but when it's really cold like that, that stuff is dangerous.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I was going out with hot water and pouring it over the ice just to break it up, so I could break it up. But I mean, the poor things, around the edge of the stock tank was all covered in ice. And I was worried because, pigs, they just go in with their jowls.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they rub on that. Yeah. Because that's one of the things I do, is feel the stock tanks to make sure there's no sharp edges and stuff like that. And they were really just like, trying to get in there. So he could have easily just gone like that to try and break the ice too, because he's a wild man.
That's cute.
Annette at the Cow Emporium says Ryan doesn't understand the plan. My aunt and uncle had 200 sheep. I don't know a lot about them, but they were so much easier to work with than cattle when I did go to help. Cool.
Yeah, sheep seem to be, I mean, from our small amount of experience, they seem to be much easier than cattle and goats. Yeah. I heard goats are overrated. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
I just don't want to deal with having to chase them.
Yeah.
Marlene at Snow Gardener 307 wants to know, for making sourdough, she wants to know, what do you both think is a must-have? Do I need anything to purchase, anything special to start? Well, my opinion, and I'm going to let you answer that, Sarah, too.
Sure.
My opinion is I had a mason jar and a pint mason jar that I used because I found out that a smaller jar was better when I started.
Yeah.
And then I had a cast iron Dutch oven. But if you have any Dutch oven, I think it would work. You just have to watch with the heat.
Yeah.
Your opinion?
Yeah. I mean, I started without anything fancy at all. I just kind of made do with what I had. So I also just mixed my starter originally in a mason jar. I didn't even have like Banneton bowls or a dough whisk or anything fancy like that. So I would say if you know that you're going to want to, like, if this is something you want to commit to and learn the skill and like get good at it, then definitely I would probably invest in, yeah, like a covered Dutch oven. I actually don't even have like a fancy Dutch oven or a cast iron. Well, we do have a cast iron one. I haven't used it yet. I just have like a covered pot that I use that's oven safe. And yeah, the Banneton bowls are super nice. I feel like you get a nice skin if you want to score the top of your bread and make it pretty. Banneton bowls are helpful for that. I don't know. I mean, I honestly, all the fancy stuff that I have is from one person that I ordered from on Instagram, and she sells all of it in one kit, and it just came, and I love all the stuff. So, and I mean, her, you could find her on Instagram. She's Breads by Razy. Razy Grass, but she sells like bread kits, and it comes with, and you can get the Banneton and the dough scraper and the dough whisk, and you can even get a starter, and you just have to rehydrate it and it's ready to go. So she kind of sells it all. If you're looking for like a one-stop shop, she's a great place to go. But you don't have to get fancy. If it's something you're not positive you want to pursue, just keep it simple and just get really good at like figuring out how the starter works, really. If you can get the starter going, all the rest falls into place.
Yeah, I didn't buy anything until I got the starter going and had already baked a couple loaves, and then I got drawn in to people making beautiful loaves of sourdough bread. And then and I'd go to score it, and it would look like garbage. And I'm like, you know what? I really don't care if my bread is on the cover of a magazine. Don't get me wrong, I can appreciate the beauty of and the artistry of people. And I was like, why are you looking at that? And I'm like, that's it. So I got the bowls, the covers, and the scorer. What is that? What you call it?
It's called a lame or a lame, some people call it. I actually didn't know that's what it was called for a long time. It's basically a razor blade.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, our cabin in the woods. Yeah, it's funny. I don't even know all the lingo. I'm like a sourdough street person or something.
Yeah, I just follow a lot of bread people. That's the only reason I know.
Hey, Gray Wolf Outdoors. Yeah, so it's really good. I mean, I wouldn't invest in anything until you master the starter and you master the bread and you like it. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste my money.
Yeah, because if you end up not liking it, then there's just, depending on how much you spend on it, that's just sitting there. But if you know you want to learn that skill and that's something you really want to get good at, you could definitely invest in that stuff. It makes it simpler and easier, but it definitely isn't a make or break of anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Made a sourdough look like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's so cool, Annette. I love it. Yeah, and a Dutch oven works great. Yeah, the one we had was a cast iron we've had for years. In fact, I have one Dutch oven. And then I don't know what you would call it, but Ryan bought it for me. I think it was last year or the year before. And basically it's two pans that fit together. And cover, and they have the long handles. So like one's a frying pan that goes on top of a deeper pan. And so that's what I use. And let me tell you, the two of them in the oven, the rack is now like this.
Oh my gosh.
But if you're making 2 at a time,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so did we cover anything? Do you want to talk about like what people would see on your channel?
Sure. You'll see me rambling through random things. um, yeah. So I like to be in the kitchen. So I like to share some of my recipes that I've done. Oh, like some of my repeat recipes. I'll share more of that. If it's something I haven't done much of before, you'll definitely know that too. I'll share that too. I just try to be really, really transparent, and just I'm not really into putting on a huge show. I just want to be as like real as possible. Like we'll have, kids in the background or dogs barking or, just random things happening. It's life, right? And I just want to have an opportunity to share our experiences, and hopefully, somebody can, maybe if they're just getting into homesteading or want to learn some of the same skills, if they could learn from us or even share more information with us. It's been amazing to have this homesteading community that we can share different information. I've learned so much just from the short year that I've been on YouTube. I'm just watching different people's videos and wanting to support their channels, but I'm taking so much from it. I'm learning so much about different things, whether it's gardening or even chicken keeping tricks and stuff. And we've had chickens this will be our 8th year with chickens, and I'm constantly learning new things. So
always,
yeah. So what's that?
I was gonna say there's always something happening that teaches you. So if you think, I don't want to say if you think you know it all, but like every year goes by, and if you stop for a second and you look back on the previous year and you realize all the weird experiences that happened or the issues that you dealt with or what have you, right? From animals getting out of fencing to bumblefoot to pig snouts get put on ice to whatever, your learning base.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, those are all experiences that we learn from, and that's how we better ourselves as farmers. We have to experience it first. I think so many people go into, whether it's farming or homesteading or even bread baking, thinking they need to know everything about it before they dive in. But really, you just have to dive in, because you're not going to learn from experience and you have to have those fails sometimes to get better. And so I think that's definitely one of the things that I would encourage people to do, is if you're in a place of feeling like you need to just know everything, just dive in, because you're going to constantly be learning. And that's where we are at too. We're always learning, and we're always open to learning. And we know that there's never a ceiling in which we've hit that we know it all, because that's just not the case.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lisa Colovi, are you talking about the sheep one from Dawn Ray B? Because I've got that one here. Thank you so much for pointing that out. I just wanted to say one thing. You said that, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought.
I don't know how you manage all this and keep up with the chat. I can't even look at the chat, or I'll lose my train of thought.
I don't either. I just make it look good. Oh, what I was going to say is sometimes I can get caught up in like the process of thinking it.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. So Norman has those talking buttons that Living a World Life sent us. And I'm trying to think, like, he has to have access to those once you teach him how to use them. And I'm like, well, I can't leave him out in the barnyard. So like, there's a good example of where I'm sitting there going, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? Blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. And it's really just as easy as bring him in and put the dog behind the fence.
Right.
But
yeah,
I'm
just
sitting
take
here,
that initial step.
But I'm sitting here spinning wheels.
Running through it. Yep.
Right.
And different scenarios, running through the different scenarios. Well, this could happen, or this could happen.
Yeah. And Ryan, as a man, that's how they think, right? They think, let's problem solve. And he right away looked at me and he's like, you put him in doggy jail.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is where he's been while we've been doing the bathroom. We have doggy jail and reverse doggy jail. And I've never seen a dog so thrilled to go to doggy jail in my life. because we make it happy. We go, you want to go to doggy jail?
Oh, yes.
And he's like, oh
I'm going
yeah.
crazy.
And it's simply a gate that separates one half of the house to the other, just if we
Yeah.
need to secure him. So,
Yeah.
oh, thank you, you guys. You
That's
guys are so funny. You're
awesome.
so sweet. Dawn Ray B would like to know: are the sheep a hair sheep or a wool sheep? Because I think she came in after you talked about the sheep.
Yep. So we have wool sheep. So we do have to shear them. We actually have talked about getting hair sheep in the future. Like I said, I don't know if we're going to be expanding this year, but at some point, we'd like to get hair sheep, and we would like to do like meat. So if we did hair sheep, it would be for property maintenance and meat. And so right now, when it comes to our wool sheep, I don't really know our goal as far as if we're going to expand our flock too much with them, or if I'm just going to kind of experiment with the wool we currently have. But yeah, it's just the wool that we have right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Rich at the Old Swedes Farm. Dawn said thank you, and then Rich at the Old Swedes Farm said just when you think you've seen it all. And I know he's probably thinking back to his own video of the chicken where he had an issue with some maggots, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, I don't know if I saw that one.
Well,
yeah.
He just made me think of one of ours. We had one that was, I'm convinced she had cancer or something.
A chicken?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
She would eat, she would drink, she would act normal. She just was slow.
Oh.
But she would do her thing and everything like that. She just, and you know, we kind of, after having to cull animals this year, we really weren't feeling culling her, but we knew we were going to have to.
Yeah.
Long story short, one day she came out of the coop, and again, chickens amaze me. They act like normal even when they're in severe pain.
Yeah.
And I won't get into detail. But the bottom line is, let's just say they pecked her.
Oh, yeah.
So severely, it was similar to what Rich was dealing with, minus the parasites. And it was really, like, I picked her up and I looked at her, so we ended up having to cull her. But yes, she did lay. She still laid an egg every day. Hey, Joy, bless life.
Crazy.
But yeah, she just, you know, she was just a sweet bird, and that's it. So, but we're finally up to 26 hens and a rooster.
Nice.
And today we got 17 eggs, which was pretty exciting.
Yay, that's exciting.
Because
you hit the jackpot in these egg markets right now.
Well, the new girls finally started laying because I think they were traumatized back from April. So, so they're actually finally doing well, and so we're going to order some more and get some in.
Nice.
I just want to go to the chat real quick. Hey, Joy, bless life. Yeah, it is sad. And that was a few weeks ago, but I think I was more disturbed by her pen mates.
They're nasty. When chickens like see any kind of like blood or weakness in another chicken, I mean, it's brutal. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard we had a meat chicken last year that we had to cull, and that was because I heard a ruckus, because at that point in time, the turkeys and the chickens were together. Because the turkeys were larger, so they'd roost up higher. And they didn't bother each other, so that was fine. But I don't know what started it, but I went down there because I heard a huge ruckus, and I saw all the birds around one bird. And I go down there, and let's just say they almost killed her by pecking at her head. And it was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, we had a situation in one of our meat tractors last summer, also where we heard kind of a ruckus, and we went over there, and one chicken was being, I don't know, I won't go into detail, but it was gruesome, and we did have to call her too. Yeah, and it's really sad.
Yeah, it is.
Like that, because you feel bad for it, you know, because obviously as a farmer or homesteader, and if you are doing meat animals, you understand the process of, you know, culling, but you make it quick and humane, you know, but when you see these animals just being so like barbaric, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, that poor thing is suffering. Like
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah, and this one had actually taken her head because in our meat pens, in the turkey pens, what we did was we put pine tree logs around the bottom.
Yeah.
And of course, chickens, they all dust bathe and do all their things. So they had kind of dug underneath. And this one learned to put her head underneath.
Oh, she did.
But apparently it was too late. But like you said, gruesome and barbaric are two words that really do describe them.
Yeah.
I don't know that sheep necessarily have a pecking order, but I'm sure they have a hierarchy, I would assume.
There's definitely a hierarchy. It's nothing too like crazy, but the sheep that we have, they are naturally polled, so they don't have horns. If you feed them grain, it does encourage the growth of horns and hooves. So we don't really feed our sheep grain. Because in the past, when we have given them some, we noticed that our ram will get nubs and he will rub them bloody. And it's like he'll rub it and he's banging on things and he'll be bleeding on his head. So when we don't give him grain, they don't grow and he stays blood free. So,
interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as the hierarchy goes, if you put, when we put our sheep in different pens and then we reintegrate them, there is an initial moment where they'll like cram each other, but it's quickly subsided. It doesn't last very long.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the pigs too. I've noticed that the girls we put in together because they had been together since they were babies, and when we finally took them apart before they farrowed, they were a little lost without one another. And then when we had to put them back together, Eleanor's babies were gone. I think they were being weaned. No, they were actually gone. And then what we did was we let Fiona walk around in the pen next to her. Well, then Fiona, which was Norman and his sister, were running around by Eleanor, and she was no problem.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then when we went to put Norman in together, Eleanor did a number on him. Like she threw him across the barn. It was, I have it on camera. It was rough.
That's crazy.
And I think it's because, he burrows in.
Yeah.
And he startled her. But it was pretty violent.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It was pretty violent because she jumped up, whipped around, and grabbed him and threw him. And I was like, oh, this is not working out good.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's tough though, because sometimes that just has to happen. That's animal dynamics.
Yep.
They have to establish that. So sometimes it's hard to watch, but you're like, all right, well, this has just got to happen. If I need to step in, I can be the bouncer.
Yeah.
But
the next day I decided to be the bouncer.
Yeah.
Just because apparently it went on all night.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had watched, so I don't think any of them slept. Whereas I know that when we put Sherman and Grant together, it was a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
yeah, some just get along much better, and depending on the breeds and the how they integrate together.
But yeah, otherwise they're pretty easy to put together and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. What do your sheep eat? Hay or grass?
Yep, just hay and grass. So in the summer we utilize one of those Premier One electric fencing, the solar electric fences, and we move them around like the little bit of pasture that we have. And we're trying to create more pasture with them actually being able to like aerate the ground and everything. So they're just solely grass and then hay in the winter.
That's awesome. You feed them alfalfa hay?
We had some alfalfa hay when we were pretty confident that our ewe was pregnant, but no, we ran out of alfalfa and I didn't buy anymore. So I was just like, they're fine. They do have the hay that they have right now. It is a nice quality. It actually smells amazing. I'm a weirdo that sits there and I like smell the hay. Like, oh my gosh,
I love that.
Yeah, so we just have kind of, I don't know the blend of hay it is. We get from a couple different farmers here in Minnesota, but they seem to like it. They do fine.
And then Farm Fresh said Ariella asked the wool breed.
We have Finn and Finn Gotland cross. So Finn sheep from Finland, and then Gotland, I think Gotland is like an island somewhere. I don't even know where it is, to be honest with you. I forgot. But both of their wools are very curly and crimpy, and they're very soft.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Grace and Fire just dealt with sauerkraut with her hen. Yeah, I love the smell of hay too.
Yeah, yeah.
I love when it's green. Like when
Yeah.
you like the alfalfa is usually so nice and green, and it's like,
Mhm.
ooh.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because you know that you have like hay animals when you go to like random stores, you're out and about and you find like hay like in your shirt and in your hair, like random places, like, oh, just saving that for later.
I went and got my wallet out. I was in the home improvement store, and I went and get my wallet out, and there's like pieces of hay coming out.
Yep. Yep. Like, don't mind me.
Yeah, don't mind me. Don't mind me. That is so funny. See, we're
There's
not
a
alone. Annette likes it too.
Yep. Yep.
Good night, Dawn Ray B. Thanks for being here. Have a great weekend.
Mhm.
Anybody have any questions for Sarah? And while we're waiting,
Yeah.
so what other things you like to do on your homestead that maybe people don't know about you?
Oh gosh, what other things do I like to do on the homestead? Okay, so we talked about, okay, I like to bake. Obviously, I have my kiddos, so
I like
I
to
love
cook with them too.
I do like to cook with them. They're not in the kitchen as much as I'd like them to be, but my daughter, my 9-year-old, she does show interest in wanting to be in the kitchen. And sometimes I'll, recruit them for things. I know I made like an apple video and they helped me peel the apples and stuff like that. So when I can recruit them to help a little bit, they definitely do. But for the most part, they're not super interested. But I'm hoping that our youngest she'll be a little more hands-on, I think, in the kitchen. So we'll see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. I kind of just showcase all the little tidbits of, the different areas that I'm interested in. Like I said, I love to can. I like to do, all the different aspects of homesteading. I just want to learn it all. And I'm not awesome at any of it, but I like to dabble in all of it. So, and it's fun to learn and fun to share. And yeah, that's kind of my jam.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And I've got some questions for you. And Gray Wolf, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm trying to go back to yours and I can't find it. I have not heard of this Farm Fresh about the magnet in the cow stomach. So I'm sorry, Gray Wolf Outdoors. Can you type your question? I apologize. Farm Fresh wants to know if you ever rode a horse.
Not really. I mean, maybe when I was very young, maybe I like an early teen. I think I went once, but no, not really. We actually used to live on the property we used to rent from. They had horses on the property, so I have been around horses a lot, but never really rode them.
I used to ride horses when I was a teenager.
Did you?
I used to do jumping and dressage.
Yeah, I have a friend who she has 3 horses and she rescued them all from kill pens. And she's told me some stories and it is heart-wrenching. It makes me want to get a horse just to save and rescue one, but I know we don't really have the property for that, but yeah.
Yeah. How much of the 10 acres is being used?
Good question. So our front 2 is really wide open, and that's where we have, like, in our videos, you'll see there's not really much tree coverage in our front. It's probably about 2.5 acres. That is garden and like our chicken coops. And we will rotate our chicken tractors for our meat birds through that area, as well as sometimes we'll bring the sheep through there, but there's not a ton of long grass up there. And then we have another probably like 4 acres that is either part pasture or we're trying to turn into pasture. We have a pond that's surrounded by lowland that's not really being used, and then we have about 2 acres of like a wooded area, and we don't have the animals back there right now, but that's like on the far back part of our property. Mm-hmm. So we kind of just actively utilize probably like 6 of the 10.
Nice.
Yeah, so
That's pretty cool.
yeah, trying to make the most of the space that we have.
Awesome.
So
And I'm watching the time too, because I'm sorry, I noticed we're over an hour. I just want to make sure we get through questions real quick. Is that okay with you?
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever lived in another state?
Yes, I grew up in Wisconsin. And I've been in Minnesota since 2006. So just those two states.
Very cool. Gray Wolf Outdoors, let me see, said that I heard that if you put a heater in the hen house in winter, it could be detrimental to the birds. I was told they don't need a heater. Correct.
Correct. We've never once, we've had chickens since 2015, and we've never once put a heater in our coops. That's actually one of probably the most dangerous things you can do for your chickens, not only because of like the fire risk that can happen, but if you don't, like, depending on where you are in the country or in the world or whatever too, but temperature wise here in Minnesota, if we trained our chickens to be used to that heat and then our power goes out, we're probably waking up to dead chickens because their bodies aren't acclimated to that. And so you really need to hardy them off and allow, I mean, they've never, think about it, thousands of years ago, they didn't have heaters for their chickens. They've been around for so long, you know, they don't need it. They really don't need it.
Nope. I often tell the story that I did do it one time. And it made me sick to my stomach to do it because I was out in the coop every 5 minutes, fearful of it. But the reason why I did it was I think we were at like -30 and
cold.
They were lethargic.
Oh.
And they were not acting right. And I felt something was wrong. So when I put the heater in there, you know, what did it bring it up to? 0, you know? And they acted a lot better. So I had it on for a few hours and I shut it back off because I'm very well aware of the danger and the fact that they should not be used to it. But they did perk up a lot. However, this time when we had that cold come through, we did get ready and put one in there just in case, just because it's one less thing when you're fighting with all the cold. If it was needed, and they were fine.
They were fine. Yeah.
We never used it.
Right.
So I don't know what was going on that year. It was one time and it was very strange. And then they were all fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And different flocks are going to react differently too. But you know, we did do a video on the top two things that can kill your chickens in winter, and it's moisture and drafts in your coop. And so when it comes to just winterizing your chickens and hardying them off, you know, it's not even as much about the heat, but making sure that their coop has proper ventilation so that there's not too much moisture, so they're not getting frostbite, and then they're not catching, you know, chicken colds because of the drafts coming in and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And Cowgirl, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yep. You have to worry more about the heat than the cold. Yep. Yeah, and like I said, just, you know, again, I'm just being real that I did that, but I put it on a metal table in the middle with chicken wire, tied it to the thing so it couldn't fall over.
Yeah.
And it was only in there for a few hours, and even then I was constantly in there freaking out. But like I said, there was something going on with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what it was.
Because I have all cold, you know, tolerant breeds. And this year we were minus 22 in the coop.
Yeah.
And that's not the floor with the deep litter. That's just the minus 22 in the coop. And they were doing just fine.
They were totally fine. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it was just weird. Maybe something was going on. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Bye, Nancy, our treasured home. Have a good weekend. Let's see.
Bye, everybody who's leaving.
Yeah, I just want to get down to the bottom. Apparently, I'm missing a lot of people. Hey, Kettle Kitchen.
Hi, Tony.
Yeah, minus 40 with the wind is different for sure. Yep. Hey there, Heath, Frontier Survival. Oh, good. I'm glad that helped. Yeah, Leanne said Lisa sent me pictures of what she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, I mean, when it comes to, again, farming and homesteading, you gotta do what works for you. You know, there isn't a one method is make or break for everybody.
Yep. Agreed. And yeah, Grace and Fire, we have vent covers like for a shed to allow ventilation. So it worked pretty good. I wouldn't put hay on the door of your coop. I would just do deep litter method. Look up deep litter method. That's what I would do in wintertime. That's what we do. However, ironically, since that cold passed, we are more it's funny because everything in the coop is not as frozen as it usually is because we're above average temperatures. So
yep, same. It seems really like messy out there right now.
I bet you have all that snow too.
Yeah, we have a ton of snow. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is. It's funny too because on our property we don't have, again, like I said, on that front part we don't have tree coverage. So when that big snowstorm came through and we got like a couple of feet of snow, we had these insane drifts of snow that would be like the entire height of one of our kids because of just the drifts that came through, and all that snow is crazy.
Yeah, absolutely insane. And it's funny because we've had the opposite. We're the only place in South Dakota who didn't get the blizzards.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I think the most we've had at one time was 3 inches this year.
Really?
We have not even plowed.
What?
I'm telling you, all of South Dakota had 10-foot drifts in their barns.
Yeah.
From the wind and the blizzard-like conditions, we got like 2 inches.
That's crazy.
It's been insane. It's going to be a scary spring because of the wildfire danger.
Oh,
because
yeah.
That's how we get our moisture.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess we'll probably have a ton of moisture here. Our pond will probably be really high with all the snow melting into it this year.
I'm sure. Marlene at Snowgrounders said, I can't believe you haven't plowed. Nope. Haven't plowed at all.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Sarah, we were way over what I said, so I apologize to that.
Oh, no, I'm so honored to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for being here. Well, you're always welcome back. You know that.
Oh, thank you.
And yes, absolutely. And for those folks who are interested in the panel of talking about growing their food that we talked about earlier, I will definitely reach out to everybody, including yourself, and we'll see what we can figure out.
Yay, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody in the chat. You guys are all great.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming in and talking to Sarah. Go check out her channel. We have it pinned at the top of the chat. I also have it in the description box below. So thank you so much for coming to check out Sarah, and go check out her wonderful channel.
Yay. Thank you so much again.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.
Bye.